I'd like to ask Renzo and Susan and Rachel to come on up and talk a little bit. And we have to talk through the mics because it's recording, even though our voice can carry here. If you could each provide a little bit of color on this and maybe take some questions from our audience here. So I don't know how you've orchestrated this.
Yeah, sure, I can start. So, this documentary really meant a lot to me. I found out about it exactly 1 year ago. I was employed by a PBM in the transparent space. I did not work for the big three. So I have a 20-plus year career working for a pharmacy benefit manager, selling PBM, understanding the differences. And this documentary to me was actually the impetus for me leaving my job of 20 years. I felt so strongly that I wanted a voice in the industry. I really want to help employers understand, the choices that are out there. And I'm hoping today, my one goal, and I think maybe we can all tell how we got involved with this documentary. I think I want every employer in this country, whether you're fully insured or self-funded, to do this. And, a broker in the audience asked me by text, I'm not going to call anybody out, and just said, should we maybe give debit cards to our employees, that are on plans and just let them shop? And the answer is, well, you're basically explaining self-funding. So if you have a fully insured group that you're realizing maybe isn't getting the best deal, that is self-funding, and you want to work with a PBM that will work within those price metrics. And so I just hope, that you don't leave this room thinking that you have the best rebate contract in the country and that your admin fee credits that you're getting from a carrier are, floating you through. Understand where those dollars are coming from. And that's really my goal and why I started my own business and to educate.
Well, thank you again for watching this. I really appreciate it. As I said in the film, I've been in this space for 30 years, and my overarching goal when I started my firm was to help employers with their pharmacy benefit program. That was it. There's that one sentence. That was it. I did not know that would lead down a path of being blackballed, threatened, gaslighted about the things that I said about the PBM industry that have now rung true. But that 30-year path has also led me down a great path that I've met lifelong friends. I've helped employers save millions of dollars, and I've helped employees get better, get healthier, be more well. And so with that, as I said again in the documentary, I have hope now that films like this is why I participated in this film. I got recruited by Rachel. But this is why I wanted to make this film, because I wanted the word out, and I want to continue my mission of helping employers with their pharmacy benefits plan. So.
Awesome. I would like to echo the same, that I consider it just a massive privilege to have even been asked to be part of this project. I have been evangelizing on the importance of fiduciary in our company, US Arcs Care, a fiduciary PBM, since the early 2000s. It was a hard road. It's a lonely road. It's still a lonely road. And if you look at PBM contracts, most of them, if not all of them, have a paragraph that says the PBM is not a fiduciary and not obligated to act in a fiduciary manner. And we have taken the opposite approach. Fiduciary is a legal term. It means something, right? So our clients know that by hiring us, they have a vendor that is held to the same legal standard that they are. Can you imagine that, right? Shocking. And the objective here really is that, for all of the panels I'm on and all the speaking that I do, I can't communicate this message better than this documentary. It's powerful, right? I think a lot of folks in this room probably know that there may be something wrong with their PBM. They're just not sure where or how. But you need to start asking questions. Some basic questions like, do I believe that my PBM is fully aligned with my fiduciary obligations as a self-funded employer, right? when I spend more money as a plan, does my PBM make more money? If the answer is yes, you have a problem, right? Because the entity that is expected to be managing your costs makes more money when your costs go up. Conversely, when your costs go down, their profits go down. Who in your PBM is getting up every morning trying to figure out how to reduce their profits and revenue? Does anybody think that's the case? I don't think so, right? Ownership. Who owns the pharmacy, right? When we see clients with CVS that are looking for options, and 89% of their spend is going to CVS pharmacies. Does that sound odd to you? Right? Does that make any sense? Right? Did you want to add to that?
And I think, Renzo makes a great point, and knowing the incredible companies that are members of this organization, I hope this message resonates with all of you. And, Renzo made a comment, if your how your PBM gets paid. I would guess a lot of employers in our state, just because I know who the number one carrier is in our state, have pharmacy benefit contracts where you have zero admin fees. And you probably feel very good about this, and you have negotiated great discounts and have no administrative fee. If you are not paying a per claim or a per employee per month that seems reasonable, please understand your PBM is not a nonprofit. So you have to understand, well, how are they getting paid? If you have no admin fee and you have a consultant that told you they negotiated the highest AWP and you're getting just so many rebates, but you don't know what they're making. So to Renzo's point, we're in a very exciting time. I recognize exciting for PBMs, but what I mean by that is we're starting to make national news. We are starting to have people understand what the term PBM means outside of people in this industry. Mark Cuban has been amazing for that. And I'm sure everybody, I see a lot of nodding. Mark Cuban has made all of this, really become a little bit more mainstream, but we aren't going to get further unless more people join Mark Cuban. And I think that's what we're hoping for from everyone in here. And, just ending with, you saw some examples in this documentary, like Duexis, Susan, I love that example. But a lot of PBMs will say, well, we don't cover that anymore. But you did. And so the question is it's like the balloon example or whack-a-mole. What's being covered today that's going to be cheaper next year that you shouldn't have had to pay for this year?
Right, and I think, consultants who have come back to you as a plan sponsor and said, oh, look, I've negotiated 3 times the amount of rebates than you used to have. I would look at that consultant and ask, well, first of all, why were my rebates so low to begin with? But then, how can one PBM get 3 times the amount of rebates that another PBM? The only way they can do that is to raise your costs, is to raise the price, is to make sure you pay more brand drugs that have rebates. It just blows me away when I see that, and I'll do an RFP and I'll see, okay, for this employer, rebates are, 3 million, 3.2, 3.3, 7 million. Okay, that's a red flag that PBM is going to increase your cost as much as humanly possible. I just saw yesterday, again, Rachel talks about, well, like Duexis, now they don't care, they don't have that on the formulary. I just saw yesterday a client emailed me while I was on the plane ride down here and said, hey, have you heard about this high deductible health plan maintenance list? And I'm like, what? They had brand name Lipitor. Atorvastatin has been around now for years, the generic version of that. They had brand name Lipitor on a preventative high deductible health plan list. And basically the PBM's rationale was that was a preventative medication. No, you take a Lipitor when your cholesterol is high and you take the generic. The only reason you put Lipitor on there is to garner rebates. And it just, I got so upset on the plane ride. I was just like, that poor guy next to me was just like, oh my God, what is
That's why you needed a gimlet at dinner.
Yeah, I needed a gimlet at dinner, yes.
If I can issue a challenge to employers in this room, particularly if you are working with a traditional PBM, I would go to your broker advisor and tell them that you want to cut your pharmacy spend by 50% by the end of the next year. And if they tell you it's impossible, can't be done, you might not be working with the right advisor.
Right.
Because there are thousands of employers who have achieved that in years past. This is the easiest thing to fix, your pharmacy benefit, and it's the most used benefit. So I would recommend that you put that question to your advisor and see what they say.
Questions?
Thanks. Rachel or Susan, is this film publicly available? Is it somewhere where it could be shared?
So through the producers, the director's is keeping it under right now distribution through us only, but we will do showings free of charge. We want everyone to see this, but it does have to be set up. But yes, we're happy to show this. We're happy to do seminars, come on site for employers here that have multiple HR offices and want to kind of educate. We're happy to do that. Any other questions about the documentary, what you've seen?
Anybody else with questions? By the way, these are
Front
stalwarts of the PBM industry. I will say that Rachel is like shopping local as well. She lives right here in Bel Air. Or,
Yeah, I'm in the area. Yes.
yeah.
A lot of great discussion today about rebates and the financial impact of those rebates. Essentially, patients, your sickest employees and their families having to pay more out of pocket and potentially incur medical debt or having to make really bad decisions around, do I take my meds or do I pass on my rent or other things that I would pay for? And so I'm really interested in your perspective of why aren't more employers bypassing rebates altogether, looking at lowest net cost, and figuring out how to reduce the out-of-pockets of their beneficiaries, of their participants that they're looking out for.
I think all three of us
Yeah.
started off.
I think one reason that employers are not going to lowest net cost is they don't know what lowest net cost is. You cannot get a report from your PBM of what the lowest net cost of Ozempic is, or, pick a drug. That's one of the problems. The second problem is if they do go direct, if employees, if patients go directly to manufacturers, they kind of lose control and they lose the benefit portion of their benefits. So, for example, like Lilly, I just pick on GLP-1s because that's the topic
fun.
du jour.
Yes.
Yeah, is that Lilly and Novo both have programs where you can go directly, the employee can go directly to them and get the lowest net cost of that drug. But now that's outside the benefit plan. And so employers are really losing control. They're losing the data from that. And patients are in a situation where if they take another drug that counteracts that drug, that information isn't in a single database. So now you've lost that as well. So that's kind of a slippery slope of, going to lowest net cost is ultimately that.
The other thing I would add is that a lot of it lies with the consultant, right? I mean, for those that have purchased pharmacy benefits or gone through RFPs, what's the first thing that's presented? Here's your average discount off AWP, and here's your rebate. And that's the cut point, right? Who makes the cut based on that? Where in reality, those two things, the market is very advanced and mature. There's really not a lot of difference, minus manipulations of the numbers. There's really not a lot of difference between the discounts and the rebates. All the rebates are now coming through three main aggregators, right? So it's all the same. So you need to look past that, and you need to look at what are they doing clinically. Are the clinical decisions conflicted, right? Talked about that in the documentary. How's their formulary constructed? Is it to optimize rebates, which ultimately is revenue to the PBM, and some of it goes back to the employer? Or are they actually looking at clinical things, right? I mean, I'd love to know how the drug Duexis went through the formulary committee and they decided it added value clinically for $2,500 for Advil and Pepcid. Right? It makes no sense. You have to deconflict your PBM relationship. If you're working with a PBM that have conflicts of interest, you've lost the minute you sign that contract. There's nothing you can do, absolutely nothing.
And to just, kind of wrap this up, and I see the time, it's, your data is your data, but it's interesting if you haven't requested the data, what you're getting and what, right now I'm in the middle of working on a municipality here in Texas. They are self-funded, they're in a consortium. We are just doing an audit from last year's just to make sure they're getting what the contract said to begin with. They got their claims, but the claims didn't have the right data. And to them, they always thought they were just getting data because they could see what the drugs were that they were paying for. There's so many intricacies to the data that you are receiving. And I hope that, for the employers in this room that are several thousand employees and have these larger bulk contracts, I hope you are at least auditing once a year with an outside independent firm, because you have money sitting there. I can tell you that without a question, you have money sitting there if you are with one of the big, I'm going to say 4 PBMs. Big 3 is typical, what you hear, Optum, Express Scripts, CVS, Caremark. But here in Texas, I'm going to give Prime number 4 because that's who many employers have here in Texas. And if you are not doing it, right now I'm in conversation, we're trying to get data, and they gave us data with, they gave us NDC, but then didn't give us the amount. And then they gave us a new report that had, it's like, no, you can't reprice it. And we're working to get it. But it's just, you'll see when you ask for the data.
Totally agree with everything that you guys are saying, and so appreciate you all being here, and we'll talk more. But what continues to, I struggle with is that we keep building layers of auditors and checkers and consultants on top of auditors and, we said, oh, the PBMs are bad and doing things, and yeah, so, okay. And so now we need to add more layers of things, and so we just keep, how do we get past the checkers checking the checkers kind of mentality that we feel like I'm in right now, and say, goddamn, fix it, okay? And let's make it simple for the employer as well as simple for the employee. And this is what the expectation is. I'm still struggling on how to get from where we are now to nirvana.
I would say just, you got to hire the right vendor, right? You've got checkers on checkers on checkers because you have a vendor that's not looking out in your best interest and you're trying to figure out why, right? You need to hire a vendor where the auditor is the Maytag man, right? They look at all the data and all of it's there and it's clean. I mean, that would be my answer.
And I think Washington is going to have a big role in this too. We need more regulation. The problem is my industry exists where I'm a PBM consultant because the majority of health insurance consultants in the space don't either fully understand the complexities that have existed now in the PBM, and they understand it and they bring in people like us, or, because they don't have the tools to do the actual audit and they're compensated for the vendors that are being put in place. So I think until we have more regulation in place that smooths this out, you're going to have the same thing.
As your consultant, your auditor, and all that work with you, if they or anyone in their firm is getting money from the PBM industry, and if they are, and they will not sign an affidavit that they aren't, you need to find someone else.
I would, last point, I would say to regulation, you don't need to wait for Congress to fix your problem. We're going to be dead and buried before that happens, right?
Yeah. So again, I thank these producers, participants in this video. It kind of sets the tone for the day. We're going to be addressing so many of the elements in there. So.
And if anybody is interested in showing, like Rachel said, we'd love to do it. You can talk to any of us. We have a flyer with an email on it. I would encourage you call Chris and arrange a showing through Chris and the association.